How come the strongest lifters make heavy lifting look light? And how can you mimic this effect? Well, right now, I'll explain all the important factors that lead to smooth repetitions, starting with experience level. Beginners have choppy form and are oftentimes uncoordinated. This takes time to build to the point where you don't even have to think. That's when you know you made it, where external cues aren't really that significant anymore. Everything is 100% automatic. You get under the bar, everything's locked in, and now you can focus on having the most efficient movement pattern for your build. And so, you'll pretty much never find a novice lifter who's really dialed in like that, unless he has a serious athletic background. It's always the late intermediates or advanced lifters. And so being able to reproduce the exact same form on each rep, especially as you get closer to failure, is a skill in itself. In fact, strength training or working with high percentages of your 1R max is a skill. And you need to train specifically in those zones in order to make heavier weights look light. Otherwise, you won't maximize those specific adaptations. Keep in mind, the way weights move at 60% is not the same and never will be the same as lifting weights at 80%. Because of the force-velocity relationship of weights, which definitely alters muscular activation and how weak points can impact technique. In fact, this is the number one cause behind missed grooves, beyond the whole technique aspect. After you've been lifting for many years, everything's perfected. If your form's breaking down, you just gotta hypertrophy that muscle. In the case of squats, if you want to assume a quad dominant style where the body's upright and the knees are coming forward, but you keep using this good morning type of position, well, your posterior chain is probably really strong. So you should probably switch to SSB squats, heel elevated, using more belt squats for volume, maybe even pendulum hack squats. Focus on the front part of your leg and you'll see the form gradually changing over time. For the bench press, if your reps always look slow and grindy off the bottom, well, maybe you gotta do longer pauses. Start holding it for a good 3 seconds. Build that bottom up strength. This way, it just explodes nicely. All these issues can be attributed to direct muscular weaknesses that affect the overall movement pattern. And what you'll find is that adding slabs of muscle will actually alter your form, giving you a smoother, faster looking pull, even though you're still straining to the absolute max. And that's what many people don't understand with this topic. The lifter who appears to be lifting light is forcing like there's no tomorrow. In fact, they probably only have 1 rep left in the tank, even though if you look at the comment section, you'll often see, hey bro, you had 3 more in you. Absolutely not. That's a lack of experience on the commenter, which I don't blame them. They don't quite grasp RPE yet, because using that is also somewhat of a skill. It takes time to know your body, and not all percentages are equal for each lifter. Leverages play a role. So it can take you months or even years to find out the exact numbers that you have to lift when doing your back downs or straight sets. And on that topic of straining, it should be noted that most advanced and elite lifters don't go all out every single time. You'll rarely see RPE 10s being programmed. It's always 1 to 3 reps in reserve. And so by doing that, you won't have as much technique breakdown. Your failure point is when things start to change a bit form-wise, but you don't let that happen. If you want to bury yourself to the ground, have 0 reps in reserve for every single set. And I guarantee you, those heavy weights will look heavy. But by keeping some extra steam in, the whole workout looks smooth. And that is what you've been seeing on Instagram and YouTube. Which doesn't mean these lifters aren't training hard, it's just an intelligent approach to auto-regulation. And you will get to that point as the years pass by. Mark my words. Now, another important aspect is refraining from ego lifting, which usually comes from 2 things. 1, past experience of getting hurt from using atrocious form and subpar programming. And so the lifter learned his lesson, he made a comeback, and decided that he was not going to allow himself to do that ever again. So started off as a mistake, eventually corrected, and now you're seeing the final product. Or the guy just did things right from the get-go, which is usually rare to see if the person started training at a young age. And that's another factor too. When you're young, you do a lot of dumb stuff. Think you can get away with it. But as you get more seasoned in this game, you learn to not take as many risks. You won't go for the extra grind or sacrifice technique for the sake of PRs. And of course, it's rare to overshoot, especially with the max effort method. You get so freaking good at working up to heavy singles. You can pretty much predict your 1 rep max with 90% accuracy. The only thing that might be overshot is the RPE. So instead of getting 9.5, it'll be an all-out 10. But in terms of literally being unable to complete the rep, it's not that common. You get a lot smarter with time, and a lot of it doesn't even have to be written down. It's just your intuition's been strengthened. And that's what you see with these strong lifters. If the workout calls for a 300-pound bench press, they will not do 315, even though you want to see those 3 plates on the barbell. But it's not about that. You'll end up with these random big numbers that aren't milestones, but they look solid. You know when to back down a bit. Now, adding on to this topic, it should also be noted that most of these strong lifters are not in a constantly hyped state for every workout. Why? This isn't a competition. We're building our strength, keeping the arousal low. You're calm, you walk up to the bar, you trust that your body knows how to do the exercise, and you let the force generate by itself. If you're strong enough to lift it, you'll do it. You don't have to scream, rip your shirt off, sniff ammonia, blast your music to 100% volume. That leads to a lot of psychological burnout while being dependent on these methods, which you should reserve for the ultimate PRs, but not do that every single time. And so if a guy is walking up to this crazy heavy weight that you're looking at like, damn, I wish I could do that. He's just chilling. Cold face. Grabs it, picks it up. It's heavy. You can obviously see the veins exploding out of his damn head. His body's red. Then he sets it down, just walks away. You'll be like, wow, he made it look easy. But was it? Hell no. It's never easy when you're going above a certain percentage. It's just a mindset and your perception of what it looks like, which is even more notable with submaximal work. If someone has a really high 1 rep max and they're lifting weights at 60%, it's obviously going to move lightning fast. And if they're not going to failure, you'll see them lifting this heavy weight for reps, and it's like, wow, this guy is a freaking tank. He's making this weight look effortless. But the thing is, it will be the same thing for you if you use the same percentage and RPE. It's all math. You're just looking at the external load, comparing yourself on an absolute numbers basis instead of relative numbers. You see what I'm saying? So just to say 70% of 600 is 420. You see a guy moving that effortlessly, it's like, whoa, what am I even doing? But if you were half as strong, maybe your 1 rep max is 300, 70% would be 210. And from a bar speed perspective, assuming your technique is dialed in, shouldn't look too different. It really comes down to programming and experience level. A coach can help you skip a lot of these steps, as is following a system that was really customized for you, or just being in the trenches. And eventually we all get to this point if you're willing to put in the work for years and years. So that's it. The combination of all these features make heavy lifting look light. And with that said, got nothing more to say. Give me your feedback in the comments section. What other tips would you give? Let's hear it. And I'll talk to you all next time.